Oh, good luck, bro.
Yes, sir. I think these are the best place.
Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Have a seat. Mr. Belacuella.
Present.
Mr. Chavez.
Present.
Mr. Vasquez.
Present.
Mr. Guevara. Ms. Molano.
Here.
Mr. Sepúlveda.
Present.
Mr. Romo. And Ms. Degollado.
Here.
Okay. Can we look at the minutes? Please. I have a motion.
I motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Molano.
Second.
Second by Mr. Belacuella. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Communications or announcements? Nada?
We just wanted to announce some of the special events that we have,
Okay.
and I'm asking.
I have one.
Okay,
So,
so
excuse me.
we decided to put, we wanted to put those under communications.
Perfect. Thank you.
Forgive me, I just made a list real quick. I was notified. We can just take one and pass it down. These are some of the events that will be occurring this December. Some are still pending dates and times per council people and activities, but more or less this is what we have so far scheduled. We're expecting for December.
As you can see, it's going to be a very busy Christmas.
And this one will be this Saturday, by the way. This was one that was postponed and was brought out again for this day. The new scheduled date would be this Saturday.
And that's what? That's
The veterans, the one I'm passing out right now.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
If I have enough, I would sure how many.
If people want to donate a tree, Berman, is it a specific tree, or doing just oaks, or they can donate whatever tree they want?
No, it's a specific tree. We're working on, well, people who have been interested, I've been giving them the list. But, maybe, I don't know if you all want to go over that now, or we can just, if you have a question, just get in contact. And I think at some point, we'll likely have it on the website and stuff like that. We'll make that information a little bit more streamlined and easy to access. But we are suggesting like particular trees.
This is by the Thomas Pool?
Yes, the Bartlett.
The Bartlett, yes, it's on.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, Bartlett and right off of Jackman,
Thomas, no?
Thomas.
Yeah, it's the Thomas Pool.
How many different tree lightings are we having?
How many parks do we have now? It just seems like one for every district so far, I
Okay.
believe.
No, we've got four
Four?
confirmed right now.
Yeah.
We're just pending dates, and that's Independence, North Central, Slaughter,
And Bartlett.
and Bartlett.
And the one, the Staines,
That's
a
the library,
okay,
the library, Sames Auto Arena.
right,
The library is the one that normally puts that together.
Okay.
And we assist.
okay, all right. Wow, that's a lot.
We're trying to work to a point where we have one tree lighting ceremony. This is what our goal is, because I think if we can have a large enough event in every district for different seasons,
Mm-hmm,
we cover the entire city,
right.
you know?
Love it.
And July 4th, something huge in one district. Christmas tree lighting, something
Right.
huge in one district. And then just go through the holidays.
And I know we had talked about that, Ms. Milano had brought it up, and I mean, because this is, I mean, that's a lot of work for you all, considering all the different tree lightings when it's the same event.
I will say that, you know, council is very generous with the assistance on this. We've got, you know, to help us buy lights and to help us, you know, and so, but it's, we don't hire somebody to do that.
Right.
Parks does it.
Then again, I mean, I don't want to, we don't want to shortchange anybody and say, okay, well, you don't deserve to have a tree lighting, you know, because then they can come back and, but I think your idea is good to have one Halloween event here, one, you know, that would be ideal
Right?
for all of us.
And then we'll even do
Yeah.
Easter. We'll pick the holidays. I mean,
Yeah.
we can celebrate. We'll do concerts in the park and make it a
Yeah.
huge one.
And I think if we could talk to our city councilman
Significant, right?
and, you know, ask them, why don't we come up with one that you want, that you believe is your
The
baby.
Yes.
and go from there. I think that would be something that we can work on.
That would be
Food-
really cool.
food
And we
for
could
thought.
focus a lot of energy into,
One area.
right.
What's an ice slide? That sounds exciting.
It's like a
Is it made out of
luge.
ice?
It's ice and a company comes in. Imagine a snow cone. It's
Okay.
that fine ice. And they build it on a truck that's elevated and it comes down. It's some type of surface below that they wet and continue to wet and they continue to put ice. And so it looks like a luge coming down, and then they slide down with tires,
Inner tube.
inner tubes, thank you. Couldn't think of the word.
With helmets?
No, a lot of stuff.
I hope. Okay.
So this is what we're working towards, and we have an event, special events manager, and this is one of the things that I've challenged him to do. It's just, it's very hard to work towards that when you're working on planning all of these. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword at the same time, it's trying to work.
I mean, if we can all talk to our representative or our city councilman and just mention it to them, and then at the next meeting that we have, come back with some type of a, you know, response to see what they say, which one they want, or so they can do their pride and joy.
Have they been told about it though? Has Parks told them that that's what we're working towards? Or it will be totally new news to them?
I
if we
think
call
it
them
will
out?
probably
There will be new news.
This is new news
New
to
news,
them.
okay.
Right, so I think we're acting on some of the information and feedback that we've gotten from this board before, and we could focus on one event instead of having, and I think the discussion ensued simply because we were having so many tree lighting ceremonies.
And do you
So
think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So what happens if two or three commissioners decide on the same project or same holiday or?
The ideal thing would be it's co-sponsored by,
Okay. Oh, okay.
you know? Because we've had council members do that before, and that
Yeah.
works really well. 'Cause
That's even
you've got,
better.
yeah, you've got a lot of support. And that's on a specific event, but a tree lighting event, doesn't matter what district it's in, it is a citywide tree lighting ceremony. I don't know if you remember back in the day, going back, what, 10 years ago, 15
Mhm.
years ago? That's the way it was. We
Yeah.
had one tree lighting ceremony. So, something to think about.
Very
I mean, whatever
festive.
your wishes are. We are very festive.
I mean, we can hone in on 5 different, I mean, it could be
You know, 1 and 2.
Christmas, Halloween, Easter, 4th of July.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yes.
yeah. And then go from there, I think. Because it's.
New Year's,
Yours was
just
yeah.
add holidays.
We've got 8 districts. We can do 8
Okay,
big ones.
sounds good. I mean, I think that's something that we can do. We'll talk to and come back with, give you a little bit of a, thank you. I mean, I know you all get pushed for trees everywhere. And just thank God it's not the size of the one in New York or.
Not yet,
Looking at that, I was like,
not yet.
I'm like scaffolding.
Brendan's working on it.
Growing it.
We're growing one from seed.
It's the size of Charlie Brown.
Items for discussion with possible action. What was that?
We have Hidden Haven subdivision. They're proposing their parkland dedication. It's a 5.66 acre subdivision. It's got 20 single-family residential lots. It's located east of existing Piedmont Drive and north of Plantation East Drive. It's in Council District 6 with Mr. Charlie San Miguel. And they are proposing to pay cash in lieu of land. It's a small subdivision, so it's the acreage, it will be 0.0781 acres. And the payment for that in cash of lieu of land will be $3,515.62. And the neighborhood park improvement fee would be for the 20 lots, $6,280. So the total cash payment that they will be giving for this subdivision will be $9,795.62 prior to recordation of the plat. And we are recommending the approval of this.
I make a motion to accept staff.
Got a motion? We have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
That was it.
Okay, staff reports.
I've asked Eddie to put together a report that lists our vandalism. What we wanted to show is not only the vandalism that has happened and where, but if it's been replaced yet,
Okay.
you know, and so I think that information is very important.
Does this, so I see this really quickly. This is just the amount for the equipment. It doesn't include staff time. Or it does include staff time.
No.
It's just equipment.
No, it includes working hours.
Okay, so Independence Hills water fountain, $1,400. That's equipment and staff time.
Independence Hills, yes. Yes, all that, right now, I didn't know you had a look.
The one I saw
Yeah,
was-
all these numbers have been given staff time and what the cost was.
And the equipment cost.
Because it's reported, all these numbers come from the police reports that are given to PD. PD puts it down, and that includes working hours.
Working hours to do what exactly?
Working hours to remove some of the material. Sometimes there might be like, in case there's like benches that are broken, staff has to take it out, remove, and they'll include that. You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes there's something that's burned, and they remove that. It doesn't include the when we replace a whole new thing, obviously, until we get stuff. But what I'm saying is, working hours to removal of stuff. I'm sorry, I should have been more
Okay.
clear.
What is the turnaround time like, for example? I know we're gonna look at something that hasn't been replaced, but how long, if you put in, for example, something happened, how long does it take for somebody to go and repair it?
I mean, as soon as we find out what the damage was, we have the materials in-house,
Okay.
in the warehouse, or do we have to reorder it?
You know, depends the availability of the
depends, right.
material.
Right.
Yeah. If it's safety wise, we need to do it immediately, like the next day or, but if we need to buy new lamps or we need to make the
Wait,
purchase.
Or
and-
shade
yeah.
or anything,
And that's-
especially the shade.
Yeah.
like a regular order?
There's two different, I guess, situations. When the item that it's vandalized is completely like gone and we have to replace the whole unit. Or sometimes when we have to repair something. For example, some doors. If they hit the door and, you know, it's dented or it's kind of like leaning and we can repair it, we do that. And it's pretty much labor for that. But when it's like damaged completely and we need to replace the whole door, well, then it's like the amount is different. But if I'm not mistaken, the column that I have here, we have here is the amount that we get from the police report, and it's based on the item that was damaged. So for us to replace a barbecue pit, it's like $300. It's an average. Or that barbecue pit in particular that was damaged there at the, or that was missing from the warehouse, cost $300.
Oh, okay.
So that's the,
So it doesn't include labor?
no.
No,
Oh,
not
this one
that,
does
no.
Okay.
I thought you had the other report.
Okay.
Okay. All right, well. Can I- This is obviously, these are some of the things that we had this past year. Broken window at Ellen Recreation Center, that's a BB gun. I mean, they're shooting, and here it looks like grass, right? But if you look closer, there's tire tracks. What happened? A truck went in there, we resetted 3 baseball fields, truck went in there and started doing donuts.
That's
Messed up the sod. We had to get the guys go back in there and go panel by panel that were damaged and redo the dirt. And of course, see how bad the sod was damaged in the grass. This was at North Central Park, right there by the by the restrooms area. And this is at Independence Hills. This was done, plus these 2 fountains there were damaged. There was, you see that rock right there? Boom. Just for the heck of it. And so those are just some of, luckily, I mean, unfortunately, those are common things. Our vandalism is common for some folks now. So it wasn't major, where prior, before we had big old things that have happened to our.
But that's where my question comes in. How long do you take to cover that, to dope stuff up?
We have the paint, we can redo it that same day.
Okay, because a lot of times when you do that quickly, that'll just, I mean, it'll really make the
Discourage
people
them.
just,
Yeah, I mean, we usually try to do it the same day, obviously. If we have everything right away, the guys in the morning find
Yeah.
out. What happens sometimes is this is done on a Sunday,
yeah, that's,
Saturday night or whatever, so we don't see it till Monday.
yeah, but that's different, that's like
Right.
a whole system to be
Yeah,
able
this
to.
happened, I believe this happened on a
That's what you were
weekend
saying. yeah.
also, so we had to go in there
And does it reoccur, like once you fix it, does it reoccur
a
eventually?
lot of times.
At
A lot of
certain
times.
parks,
But you're gonna have to do it.
Independence especially,
It's like the same
And
thing.
sometimes.
again and
I
again.
can change it.
These are just some of the, what we have spent through years on just on the vandalism, 68,000, 78,000. We had,
So that's now budgeted for every year, the vandalism portion? Is that budgeted for now?
How does
It's part
that-
of the operations, it's part of
Oh,
the
it's
same
part of the
budget that
operation.
we are supposed to use to replace something that is being, that needs to be replaced because it's old or because, not for vandalism specifically.
It's not specific for that.
So those monies are like from the same budget. that we
But it
spend.
affects your budget.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So then, those are, from 10 years ago, but as up to now, is that still the same amount?
No,
Or has it,
no, that's,
increased?
this is where I'm gonna show you right now. Through those years, we created a Green Guardian, was our campaign, we created a campaign, tried to bring down these numbers, because we were getting 60, 70,000 every year, and that was really,
Can
and
you
then
go back to the
we did
previous one?
To the Green Guardian,
Yeah, the-
Yes.
that was,
Oh, okay.
He's got it ready.
Maybe I.
Okay. And
I
is
can
that,
change the slides for you over here if you want to.
Yeah, is that-
no, I want to, you want to.
You want to see the Green Guardian again?
no, I just wanted to see, how have we made that
Well, what we did was
for the
we
city
would
to
take,
know
we
that
would-
we're promoting that, or?
well, that was in 2008.
Oh, okay.
When we created this campaign, and then we, go ahead, the next one. What we did, we went to classrooms, we went to Rotaries,
Okay.
we went to business presentation, radio interviews, TV interviews, posters, worked with 311, Laredo Crime Stoppers, Laredo Police, worked on parks to be more viewer friendly. By that is, we went and trimmed trees, bushes, everything that was in the dark. We put in more lighting systems, and we put in some more cameras. And so what happened? Same, more or less. It went 49,000, and then in 2015, it was stuck around 40 to 60 for a while, and then in 2015, it went to 84,000. What happened here was they burnt a whole playground at
Lafayette.
Lafayette Park.
Yeah, I remember.
The whole playground
Mhm.
and the tent and the shades, and they also burnt skating
Yeah.
thing on
On
Hillside.
Hillside, yeah.
So obviously, it went back up.
Were they caught? They were caught, weren't they?
Yes, they were.
But they didn't pay anything. to
No,
us.
but I know that a couple, because I was working at the juvenile then, and I got a hold of them, and they were very upset.
So again, we went to local media, continued doing this stuff, continued school visits, parent groups, business, Rotary clubs, PSAs. And by this time, we started doing Facebook, and created our own Facebook page. And then we continue working with the community at Laredo Police Department. We talk to them constantly, not just once a week or sometimes every day when there's something going on. And they've been very, very helpful with us. Go ahead, Ben. And so for this year, that's the bottom line, 27,000. That's what you got down here.
What's the 47?
That's to date.
That's today. That's fiscal year from October of last year to October of this.
47, no?
It's 47,
It's 47.
not 27.
47,000, my mistake, oh my God, I'm sorry, I do.
Well, still, it's better than 80.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So when there is vandalism and people are caught, they never pay any restitution, there's no,
Yes.
Or they actually caught.
they just,
some are caught, a lot of them caught, the ones who damaged the Civic Center pool were caught. I'll give you a reason why they were caught. While PD was out there and detectives were out there, one of the kids went walking and goes, "Sir, I know who did that, I know who did that, I can take you to the house." And the detective, "Really? Yeah, okay." So they went with him, and he said, right there, and he pointed houses out. And he goes, "And where do you live?" "Oh, I live over there." He goes, "Okay." So they went, he goes, "Is it mom home or your parents' home?" They went to the parents' house, and he said, your son is gonna be under arrest. He had paint all over his shoes.
Oh, no.
And he goes, he's under suspicion of,
Yeah.
and of course, he was one of them. But he wanted to see if there was any money out.
So why aren't the kids fined or their parents fined, or why is there no?
And that's gonna be the judge.
Yeah,
Is
That's
that
up
the
to the
judge?
system, court system.
And
A lot
I
of
think
these are, it's
That would
they're
re-
juveniles.
that would require a lawsuit from the city, and I think it gets more expensive.
it's.
Tail.
We used to have a
Chase.
restitution system, and even juveniles, they would have to work it off in
Yeah.
community hours or
Community
something. And I think that's something that we need to revisit again.
I mean, they probably tell them to do it, but do they actually do it? It
They
probably
monitor
doesn't.
them, that's another.
Well, I mean, if they're required to, when
If
they're
they're monitored, they will need to monitor them.
Yeah, but I mean, it's, believe me, when I worked there for 3 years, it's like, those kids don't, they'll get out, they'll be in there in 2 weeks. They-
And most of the time where the vandalism occurs, most of the time these kids live nearby that park. So, you know, that's why I think most of them have been caught, because somebody will see the image and say, hey, that's so-and-so that lives down the block.
That's our artwork.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's their artwork.
You won't believe what happened at Independence a couple of months ago. This, because this is a Target
Park.
park. The same people did the damages, they posted on social media. And so we were like, okay, they're there.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
And I think ultimately going back and reaching out, if in case the department's not doing so, but teaching these young kids, you know, because there's still a lot of good kids out there. We're teaching these young kids that they see or hear, because most of the time they're gonna go to school and they're gonna, and have them, you know, freely come up and say, hey, I know there's vandalism here, or so-and-so's doing this, and continue to push that marketing, and I think it'll eventually help big time, because I see on the list, a lot of it is, you know, Independence Hills.
Yes, sir.
It's-
Yes, sir.
It is a
That's,
big,
I guess, our
it's a
number
big-
one.
Well, what has helped that you've noticed?
We,
Because obviously it's not that high this year.
the parks, I mean, not parks, PD has been,
We still have 4 police.
they brought some of the community relations guys and they put them out in the parks.
Okay.
So there's, I think, like 6 or 8 or so. I mean, it's more than before, but,
Yeah.
and when we tell them there's a hot spot going on right now, they would usually go around, and they'll stake the area. They have caught a couple kids, they
Okay.
prevented a couple kids from doing stuff. They have seen kids hanging out, and they, just their presence, and they run away. Plus people notifying us on Facebook, social media,
Yeah.
saying, hey, there's some kids out here right now, blah, blah, blah. And what usually happens, we'll send a guy out that, if it's during the weekend, we'll send a weekend guy out. Or if it's a crime being done right there and then, we'll call PD, our Parks Police guys, and they'll send a SWAT out there. So it's been helpful.
Right.
Where's
It's
Pepe
interesting.
Moreno?
Pepe Moreno is on, right there by Lions
San
Street
Francisco.
and San Francisco. There's 2 sections. There's like a splash park, then there's a creek, and then Pepe Moreno's on the other side.
It's a baseball field.
You know, because it's interesting to know what actually brought it down this year. That's, you know, I think that's important. And I think maybe like you're saying,
Well, yeah, I mean,
having more people out there having.
like I said,
Yeah.
we have continued working with Crime Stoppers. We've gone to, we've done radio station interviews, we mention it, we talk to them, we bring it up with people in general, at parents groups,
Mhm.
teachers, in classrooms with kids. We bring it up with the business community, you know, and you don't even have to call PD, you can call 311.
Right.
Or if during the day, if it's during working hours, call Parks at our offices. While we're there, we'll we'll send somebody. So it's a combination of that, a lot, but obviously we can't really just pinpoint it yet just by this right now. We just got these, not too long ago.
Right, and I think what's helped too is that there's a lot more events.
There's a
More
lot more
people going to
activity
our
in our
parks.
parks.
Yeah, a lot more activity in the parks, so I think there's more people there and
There's more eyes.
more eyes.
More eyes that will
kind of-
report stuff and call us, or call 311, or call PD, or call whomever to. And honestly, there's a lot of people who have been saying, I saw some kids, blah, 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 and they'll call us just to say that they ran off some kids, but, I
Right,
mean, okay.
Well, that's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to me that the numbers are about the same as you were showing for 2008, 2007.
Right,
But we have a lot more parks now, and a
Yeah.
lot more
right,
facilities.
yes.
So
That's what I was gonna bring
Number
up
is
also, that's great.
similar, but there's more facilities.
There's more facilities,
Right.
there's more pools, there's more splash parks.
There's more foot traffic.
So it seems
and
like it
so
really has
Yes.
gone
The more
down.
congested your parks are,
Yeah.
No.
the less you're gonna have situations like that occur.
Yeah.
There's a lot of eyes, so you have a lot of
Right.
amenities, a lot of people are wanting to go out to their parks, and
And
there's
the-
a push for health also.
And the prime example is the one right in front of where I live, Ryan Elementary.
Yes.
There's people there
Constantly.
constantly.
They're walking,
Yeah.
or they're working out.
8:30 in the morning, they're walking, I'm like,
At North Central Park, there's people out there by 5 o'clock in the morning.
yeah.
Parks are officially not open till 6, but there's
Yeah.
people out there running, walking. And like I said, and just sitting down with PD where they've given us ideas also, like, hey, you might need to trim some of those bushes, or cut some of those, trim some of those trees, that, so they can see it, as they're driving by, even just driving by, they can look real
Right.
quick, just to see where. But it's been a lot of help. It's a lot of
That's
help in the
great.
community.
That's,
Community's been helpful.
I applaud you all, because I think you all have been.
Forgive me for the numbers and everything, but I was,
I think ultimately quarterly, maybe we can go back and review, whatever's gone through the last quarter. And that way we can pinpoint on a particular area, and it continues, we'll definitely bring it up either to council. That way, so, cameras can be really added there, or more police presence. And we'll go ahead and review it,
Right.
review it as we go through the next year. We'll make it a big mission on that.
the thing about cameras, we have some cameras. It's tough because of the heat during the summertime. They damage a lot, and not just that. We put them on poles, we have them behind cages and everything, and kids still find a way to shoot at them.
Yeah,
And-
yeah.
I mean,
It's a
it's
target.
amazing. Yeah.
What we'll do, I mean, what we can look at, lighting, or if it,
Yeah.
and ultimately we'll find out if it's, if it, like, how I see, Independence Hill's close by, close to my district, so
Independence Hills
ultimately,
is the, it's the one it's been constantly for a while also, and PD's gone out there and they've caught some kids, but again, usually they're minors and they're right back out.
Yeah.
Does it usually happen more in the summer, or is it pretty much year-round?
The peak time is the summertime, but especially when there's like a gap, like this
Yeah.
coming Christmas
Christmas week.
and Thanksgiving and
2
everything.
weeks.
That's when everybody in our department, we hold our breath because we're like, okay, here we go. Let's hope nothing would cross our fingers.
It's broken down.
There's it's the same parts, it's the same case number, but they have the date by month, if you wanted to see which month has the most.
Yeah, I would say it's summer, right? Yeah, August. They're getting kind of antsy.
Right
ready
before
to
back
go-
to school.
Ready to go back to school. No, I really commend you all. I think it's, for the amount of parks that you have now and pools and everything, it's, for it to stay the same as 2008 to me is, great. Not to say that vandalism is good, but to keep it at that.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say also, it's not that it's great, but I mean, but it is a good,
Yeah.
notice to say it went down tremendous, but, you know, still, we need to continue what we're doing.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And I noticed a fence at Community Field around it. It was awesome.
It's done.
Yeah, we were out there the other day and all the balls are flying off the fence. It's like
No more home
a
runs getting.
little green monster.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. What's next? The status report of money accountability or?
For the leagues.
Okay.
With the leagues, we have, we implemented some new requirements, as you all know, and it was a very challenging year. There were requirements with regard to background checks, insurance, and then and having a 401c3 or having an affiliate company and having an affiliate company.
Thank you.
So what we found a lot of companies doing is actually, a lot of leagues doing is actually going under the city umbrella. And so those are the monies that we collect from every league. And so I've got Coach Gomez here to give us a report on the leagues.
Good evening. I'm Mr. Coach Gomez, but JJ Gomez, I'm the coach that plays at United High School. I'm in charge of leagues, superintendent of athletics. Like Ms. Stanley said, it's been a challenging to get all the leagues where we wanted to. As a coach, you're gonna handle the leagues. Everybody goes like, but you know what? We're moving forward really well. I think I have I'll show you a little breakdown that kind of gives you a little how many leagues we have, what we require from everyone, and it's not there yet, but we're getting there. We're making progress, and the copy machines died at 8 at Haynes Rec Center, guys, so trying to get them up. But it kind of gives you a breakdown of all the leagues that we have. Like Mr. Stanley was saying, the requirement. If you look at kind of the first, oh here, I have more.
Thank you.
If you look at the kind of the breakdowns that we have there, the first one kind of shows you everything that we've had, the leagues that we have there, the amount of leagues, how many coaches we have, and the participants. We are, like anything else, Laredo's getting big, we're going in a lot of leagues. A lot of leagues are coming in and trying to open it up and all that, so it's been challenging, okay, but we're moving forward with hopefully getting better. Like Mr. Stanley said, a lot of leagues were not able to comply with some of the things, so we kind of got them on our umbrella. We have 2 adult veterans and master leagues. Veterans means from 35 to 55, and then the masters is from 55 to over. Actually, we have the championship game coming up this week in baseball. We have 2 adult soccer leagues that are under our umbrella, and then we have the softball league, of course, that's at Benavides. So we're trying to work with them that, you know, they have to meet these 11 requirements, which I'll go into the packet here in just a minute. They have to meet the 11 requirements. A lot of them, they didn't get to meet the requirements, so we brought them in. So look, let's work with you, let's put them under the city, so that we don't want the league to stop. We wanted to keep participating and keep playing. So they all come under us, they pay us a fee. From that fee, we pay the coordinator $50 per team that registered. He does all the scheduling, and then they report to me. I meet with them once a month to see what's going on. We're trying to work with them. A lot of them were not a lot, but those 5, 6 teams or leagues were not able to comply with everything. So we continue to play, so they continue to play. First year we do this, it's working good. I think we got to fix some things here and there to make it better. But the main thing is that we want participation from everybody, and we don't want leagues to go under because there's some type of insurance or some type of affiliation and all that. So they go under the city, and that's where we go from there. Okay. If you kind of look at if you, I'm gonna kind of put them here in the kind of the wrong order, but if you go to the very last page, this is what we require. This is what we require from the leagues. This is the 11 checklist that we go with. Okay. Affiliation of leagues, 501c, which a lot of them are, like for example, Little League, they have their own, they fall under the Little League umbrella. Pony has their 501c through Pony. The soccer leagues, we have some soccer leagues that go through USSSA, so through some that type of affiliation. Some leagues try to affiliate, so they cancel. Those are the leagues that we brought it upon ourselves. So this is a little bit checklist. I like to meet. I mean, we're pretty good. We meet once a month. I meet with all the league presidents. I meet with them once a month. They're at Unitrade offices at Unitrade Stadium. And what's going on? What do you need? Fields, paperwork. Again, they're not used to this, all right? So I continuously have to. Let me say, excuse me. They call me the Chaco, the Polo, because me sacan la vuelta, all right? Because I'm always trying. I have to. They're used to when I was brought into the city. They're used to how I turn in the paper. Let's go play, and they'll forget about it. And maybe in 3-4 months, they'll give us a call again, and then we'll come back. Well, now we're on them. Hey, we got to turn this in. We got to turn this in. We can fill up a contract. Ms. Stanley brings it over to City Hall. They sign the agreement, and we continuously, it's not a, well, kind of look the other way. We want to make sure that we have the communication with the leagues, make sure they're turning in the proper documentation. They're used to, for example, they just pay 1 month of insurance. They're not going to check for the rest of the year. They're just going to pay their $100 or $75, and they're not going to check. Well, we got to check on that. It's a process. It's a process that we're trying to work on. It's a process that we want to make sure that they know that we're here to help them, but at the same time, we got to work with us because, we want to make sure everybody is compliant on that. Okay. So there's the checklist that we do. And this is the 11 things that we turn in. This is the updated list that this yellow. Mine is highlighted. You've got the one checklist for every league. That's what's been turned in. There's a couple of leagues that you see there that's still missing a couple or two, maybe one thing or so are missing something. But the most important documentation they have so that they can continue with the league. The hardest thing for them is the 501c, the nonprofit. That is the hardest because not only is it time consuming, but it is also pretty pricey. So if they can't do it, that's when we take over. That's when this are the 5 leagues that we have right now. Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. I had a 501c3.
Okay.
Why is it pricey to them? Because when I got my 501c3,
okay,
of course I had the benefit that I worked for IRS, so I had somebody guide me to make sure I did everything right.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot of requirements, paperwork requirements, but price, they really didn't charge me a lot.
Right. Okay. So just to kind of give, in February, take it back. In January, we met with the leagues. I said these are the requirements. I don't know if she's here with us anymore. What's her name? Diana Fuller. She knows all those 501c. We try to meet with them. We met with all the leagues. Okay, guys, this is what it needs for the 501c. And some of them were more or less para acá. They had most of the stuff, and some of them because they have to go through a CPA and they have to go through. And I think they got kind of scared as far as applying for a 501c. So that's when they said, well, we don't have enough money. And I understand, so especially the soccer leagues. The soccer leagues, they just making enough money just to pay the referees and stuff like that. So that's when we decided, we know what, we'll go ahead and take them over ourselves. They fall under the city of Laredo, Parks and Rec, and they continue playing. So, but they are still working together on 501c.
But the 501c3 that falls under, like, let's say Little League has the big one.
Correct.
So they don't really have to do one for each league, right? They can just say,
for example,
we fall under that.
Like Hillside, Northwest, National, all they gotta do is call headquarters and say, we're gonna use your 501c. So for them, no les cuesta nada, right? So it's all these little independent leagues, especially the soccer leagues, all right, that they have to get an affiliation. Like USSSA will charge you, I think it's like $500 or $600 to be affiliated with USSSA for that year. Okay, we have 2 leagues that are affiliated with USSSA.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some leagues from the south, well,
And can't afford it.
I can't handle it, we can't handle that, you know, we barely make enough to pay for the refs, you know, so it doesn't, you know what, we'll take it over. Let's run Ross, it's the first time we've done it, it's the first time we've ever done this past year. You know, we wanted to work with them, and they liked it, they say, hey, you know, we go to you guys and we don't have to do all the paperwork stuff. But it's a challenge, and it's getting better, but I think the main thing is that we're here to help the leagues out. Help the leagues out, make sure the kids are adults and have something to look forward to on weekends, and you have your weekend warriors, you know, that don't want to play, and that's what we're trying to do. Right? But it is challenging, it's I can't tell you how, it's always, you know, the requirements, hey, how can we put the requirements on it now? Well, that's what city council wants, they want to make sure the background checks, you know, make sure we get some kind of background checks, and we got to follow up with them, and we make sure our kids are safe, and, well, we never used to do that, and as a matter of fact, last year, and this is online, our audit department went to each league, and they went, this is for the 2017, and they went to each league, and, hey, you need to turn this in, you need to turn this in, you need to turn this in, so it was a brand new stuff for them, instead of just, hey, turn the lights on, we got a game going on. And I think that's what we're trying to alleviate, you know, and make sure there's documentation, make sure it's done right. Is it there yet? No, it's not. No, it's not whatsoever, but we're working on it. I met with the audit department yesterday when I went to, we want to see, we may once a month, not only just meet with them now, hey, what did you do? What kind of money did you have? What kind of money came in? What did you do with that money? Stuff like that. I know it's, and she said, well, let's see, let's look at the legality part of that, but something that we know that they're being checked on. And I think that's what Ms. Maesa said, that, you know, we'll help you, but just to make sure that if we're lending you the fields, then we got checks and balances as well. And I think that's hopefully and we usually meet with them in January to give them all the paperwork, to give them the checklist. And then by February, the middle of February, they got to turn all that in. And then once we do that, so okay, this is the requirements, this is what we got to check, this is what we're going to need from you. Hey, we never done it. That's that's always the thing that I'm going to get. But hey, it's the requirements now, so we got to make sure that everybody, well, I know this person. It's great. I know him too, you know. But things have changed now. Things parks and city council want certain things, and that's a requirement now. So first year this happens, this past year, this 2018. Now we're getting ready to shut it down at the end of this month. We stopped playing all leagues because of field maintenance at the end of November. But because of bad weather, we're just going to middle of November, but we're going to end of November because of bad weather. And then we got December, January, and February to get the fields back in order. And then we're going to turn it back to them. And I think Ms. Stanley made a good comment yesterday, that now is we want to put the responsibility also as them, and say, you know what, we gave you this field here, but now let's walk the field and just, you all take care of it as well, you know, because put a little bit more accountability for them to we'll help you. Ms. Verone's department, I'm in charge, hey, something's wrong with the field, they'll get on it and we'll help them. But at the same time, they got to help themselves as well. You know, so we're getting there. It's like I said, it's getting better, and we're not there yet, but God willing, we will.
Jay, how much money comes out of your all's pocket just to put this together? I mean, we don't break even, do we?
To put together the league itself?
The leagues, all the leagues. Everything, yeah.
Okay, so you're talking about
in other words, you have, for example, Pony League has 1,024 players.
Correct.
How much does each player provide, and what happens there?
Like a registration fee? Registration fee?
Yeah.
Well, their charge, Pony handles their own league.
Okay.
We provide them the field.
So we don't make anything off?
No, sir. And so on the ones that we do run, we hire a coordinator, and I say hire, but it's paid for by the payments from each team. So that comes to the city, and $50 collected from every team goes to the coordinator.
Okay.
He coordinates everybody that needs to, the time, the fields, the officials, the scorekeepers.
To be up to par with everything.
Exactly, and it also covers the cost of the ball.
So
So that is a wash.
We don't make anything as a city?
No, not for our leagues, not for these. We make a little bit, but I mean.
From city-sponsored leagues, I'll give you an example. For example, the adult baseball league, the two leagues that we just picked up, the Masters and the Veterans. So we charge $230 per team.
Right.
Per team, $230. $50 of those go to the coordinator. And then, the rest of it goes towards trophies for the end of the season and all that. We make maybe just a little bit of money from there, but we don't wanna charge them too much, because we don't wanna scare them off.
Exactly. Right.
So those are city sponsored. This has never happened before. Now, this is the first year that we actually picked up 2 baseballs, 2 soccers, right? And that first time that we actually do this, that's city sponsored. To answer the question, on the other hand, for example, Pony, Little League, once we turn the field over, they charge, they charge the kid $100. Then after that, it's.
So they do whatever they want.
Yes.
Wow.
My question was, I'm the one that asked for this, because I knew there was no accountability.
Right.
And when I asked, they said, the rules are there, they're just not following them. So I just want to commend you guys for getting this started, and I realize it's a work in progress. I know, I knew there was going to be a lot of kickback, but by the same token, we are in 2018, we need to be up to a certain standard. And I think you've done a great job. The work that I've seen at the fields, at least on the north side where I pass by every day, it's incredible. I don't think I've, in all of my years, ever seen what was done in 1 or 2 years. Brand new fences, sodding everything, sprinkler system, everything. So I commend you guys doing a great job. Somebody took the bull by the horn and invested some serious money. But I guess my next question is on the tournament fee. How do they handle that? Because I know that there's a lot of independent people doing tournaments, and I was just wondering if there's any accountability, because they're using the city fields.
Correct.
And they're making money, and some of them brag that they make a lot of money, which is fine, but if they're doing that, hopefully the city is getting paid at least a little.
Okay, so let me Gary's been around baseball for a while, tells about it. So, for example, let's say the league wants to have a tournament, okay? And again, we're trying to put stamp on it. If, I'm gonna throw it, let's say National Liberty wants to have a tournament, okay? If the teams are within the league, they can have a tournament at no cost. It's still part under their agreement, okay? But once they bring a team from outside, or they bring a team, let's say from American Little League, that is not part of their insurance, that doesn't cover the insurance, now it becomes a tournament that they have to lease the field, okay? They have to lease the field. Now, they know better that somehow, some way, we're gonna find out, all right? So, hey, the same league, hey, this guy had a tournament last week, did you all know about it? Now, we're a big city, we're actually trying to stop that, and they know that they're being looked at, all right? So if they want to hold a tournament, don't just the right way, and we're trying to, that's why I keep emphasizing to them, if you hold a tournament and something happens with that kid, and your insurance is not going to cover it because it's not part of your league. So what they do, they go to the Parks and Rec, they lease the field for $100 a day, $30 plus an hour of lights, and they lease the field. Now from there on, you can charge whatever you want, but we're going to get the city's going to be charged $100 a day plus $30 an hour for lights. Okay. If it's a league, a tournament, if it's a tournament within themselves, then no problem. They can have it all they want. Now, yes, I agree. Sometimes we'll do a tournament and all of a sudden, hey, and it happened this past year. Hey, you had a tournament. You found out about it after the fact. Oh yeah. Well, wait a minute. You didn't pay. Well, that's good. No, you didn't pay. So, you gotta call them. You gotta come in and pay those $200 because you had a 2-day tournament, plus 6 hours of lights or 4 hours of lights. So it's $120 of lights. So that's how we do it. Now, is it? Are we there yet? No. I think it's. They know now that there is a
oversight,
a watchdog out there. There is a watchdog because before. Now all it was is, hey, do a tournament, bring it in, nobody knows about it, and hey, I just pocketed everything in there, and thank you, Cedar Dorado, for using your field.
No, yeah, it becomes a big problem now, because I'm looking at numbers, and I'm just going from my experience, because I had the same problem at one local school that I was working at. People coming in and using our facilities, which is the city facilities. In that case, it was the school's facility, and not paying anything and making money off of it. That's just not right. There's got to be this is how much we're going to charge. For example, at San Agustin, my brother will charge them $800 a day.
Correct.
You can do whatever you want, but those $800 have to be paid. I mean, that to me is the right way of doing it.
And there's a fee that I just told you on the,
Yeah.
you know, it's just that, again, the mentality of it now is that I gotta do it the right way, and I told
Right.
just do it the right way. Do it the right way, rent the fees. Man, you're making $1,500 or $2,000 a day. Let's cost that out $150.
Yeah.
And that was my issue, because I knew, because I participate in those tournaments.
Yeah,
If you're paying $250 per team, they're making a killing. The least they can do is give a little something to the city.
Sure.
How do we come up with the wattage of the lights and stuff like that? $30 an
I see
hour?
that that's very lowball.
Yeah, that's lowballing.
This one has been there for a while. It's been there for a
2003,
while.
I believe.
Vale?
2003?
Since 2003.
Since 2003.
We are in the, we are in the process of updating our ordinances
Mhm.
across the board, looking at the fees and the fields. Our only concern is, and this is what we've been told frequently,
Mhm.
we're in it for the kids.
Oh, God.
And I totally understand that.
I don't say that tongue in cheek, but because I know several coaches who are just amazing and parents who are just amazing and who literally are there for the kids, and everything that they get from these tournaments goes to buy uniforms for the kids or equipment for the kids.
Right.
And so that's really amazing to see. But keeping that in mind, we're not here to make money. We're here to at least have it be a wash and maybe help sustain the fields themselves. And when we have our leagues, this is what we noticed this year. We had money for balls. We started looking
Yeah.
at balls and equipment for the fields themselves, and you know, we had
And
funds to do
believe
that.
me, I'm for the kids too. I have no problem with us having all the leagues on this planet, you know? But when you start making money off of the city and you're not giving anything back, there's a problem there. And that problem needs to be taken care of. Because if it's not taken care of, then we're not doing our job.
Yeah.
That's reality.
I'd just like to add, when we were there, when I was coaching, it looked like a war zone, the fields, they were horrific. You know, you never knew who's gonna get hit in the face, because there were these huge craters on the field, and you guys have fixed that, so, like I said, I can't thank you enough. Fortunately, I don't coach anymore, but it's awesome that the next generation that comes behind me, they have much better fields, and when people come in from out of town, you know, they're not laughing like, what the hell is this? You know, this is back from the 1950s.
I think the mentality that we look at it now, Eric, and this is, I think as a coach as well, the most important equipment in any sport is the field.
Right.
Not the bat, not the helmet,
Yeah.
not your shoulder pads, and all. The most important equipment is the field.
Yeah.
So,
Look at Mexico
Look
City.
at Mexico City.
they just moved the Rams and the Chiefs. That was horrible. They had the parking
It's
lot.
amazing, man.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to tell you guys, thank you for one,
Yeah.
for bringing everybody into compliance, and number two, for all the work.
I know, we're not there yet, we're getting there, but there's a watchdog now, and
Well, and I think that's great because, I mean, it's coming off of your salary, it's coming off of, you know, the taxpayer, you know, it's, how are people gonna make money off of nothing, you know, it's not fair, just.
Used to be funny because the same presidents of the league, they didn't know the rules with the city. So I would go to the city and ask for use of the fields during the off-season, and they come over here and screaming and yelling, and what the hell are you doing here, this and that, and I'm like, I got a contract. And then they would get super mad, snatch it from my hands, and I'm like, at the end of the day, you respond to the city, just, I went through proper channel, but they were freaking out because I knew where to go. I just happened to know what to do, and I went in front of parks, I asked, they checked. It's funny because they check with the league first before they give you access to it.
Correct.
Yet, I guess they're not used to dealing with people that are gonna find the proper procedure and follow it. So, like I said, thank you for bringing everything
No, I
into.
think this is great. I think it's all, I mean, we've been talking about this forever, you know, and I think this is, like you said, you're actually looking at them now and.
Yeah, I mean, it's challenging. I'll give you a quick
Oh,
story.
yeah.
We got a phone call, and there's a league going on in Rancho Viejo. Some weekend league, some old timer guys for the soccer. Gee, I don't have everything. Yeah, I had to play on Sundays. So I need to call me. Hey, coach, I want to go check it out. I go to church and go get this City Laredo or I don't know my truck. First of all, I didn't know what this park was. I didn't even know there was a park out there. So I'm going down Rancho Viejo and gee, Google Map when it gets up to a certain around it. So by chance, I see a guy driving, still in the soccer, oh, let me follow this guy, we're coming to it. And I'm following, he kind of looking back at me, and sure enough, we hit the riverbanks, and we took a left, and there's a gate, and there's 2 soccer fields there. Wow. And the border patrol guy was watching the game, and they see my truck, and hey, my name is, introduce myself, and just hear that, you gotta follow compliance. Oh, wait a minute, I don't know, we have to do this, I showed them that checklist. No, so they said, man, we'll probably go with you guys before. But, and then the word got out that, hey man, the city's honest, man,
We're checking.
They're checking, and we just, I don't recall how we found out, and something, I don't know, I think Mr. Chavez told us about it, or someone told us about it, and then I go Sunday morning to, I go over there, go find out. But
And I think you're right, Jay, I think once people say, well, I'm not making money off it, why are you gonna make money off it? I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, they're the first ones that give you the call. They'll be the first one, hey, maybe I gotta go check this guy out, because they know, hey, if I didn't do it, then I want to mention it.
Exactly.
And as long as we're fair, everybody's the same.
Exactly.
Okay, that's all they ask, just be fair, firm and consistent, very consistent.
That's great.
Good job.
Commend you all, I really do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you all.
Appreciate it. Youth Council Committee member?
As you all are aware, I think I've reported to you all before about our youth council. Our youth council is made up anywhere from 20 to 80 teenagers from different rec centers, from different areas of the city. And they want to become more involved. They've done fundraisers, cans, clothes, taking them to different clinics, our elderly centers, retirement centers, spending time with our seniors, donating community service hours. And so in the past, what these kids have done, our youth have done, is want to try to create different activities, different programs, different areas for recreation for the city, but also to give back, because that's what our focus has always been. You've got to give back. And so what we'd like to do, what they brought up, and their director is one of my supervisors, Marina Garcia from Hillside Rec Center. And she was telling me that the kids have expressed, we want to become more involved. We want, to help where we can. Where do we need the help? Where does the city, where does how can our generation come back and give? And so she asked me if there was any way they can become part of a recreation board, part of our recreation board. So I spoke with the city manager and explaining that, comparing it to, I don't know if you remember, the city of Laredo used to have a youth committee, and it was the Sister Cities Youth Committee. And this committee would meet with different directors from the city of Laredo.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I'm gonna
Of course.
y'all have a happy Thanksgiving,
Bye-bye.
families.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And so they would meet with different departments, and so they would learn all departments, what the departments had to offer, and different areas of the city. And so this is what they wanted to do, to become more exposed. So I spoke with the city manager and asked, how could these kids become more involved? And that they wanted to become, they wanted to be part of the Parks Board, And so as a non-voting member, of course, they just want to be part of, and how can they impart information to youths, their counterparts. And so we wanted to do this. Unfortunately, the president, who is very vocal, he's 17 years old, he had to be in practice today, but this is the last week of practice, and the last meeting that he would not be able to be here, but he was really excited about coming. I really wanted you all to hear him, and then ask you all what your thoughts were with regard to him becoming an ex officio member.
So it would just be the president?
Yes, it's just the president. It's just one person, and it would be an annual.
For a year.
For a year.
Okay.
And this way, the president would have an opportunity to listen, provide feedback, what the youth are saying, And this youth committee has been very beneficial for us. Years ago, the youth committee is what enabled us to implement a skateboard competition. But before then, they approached Mayor Betty Flores, and they created Hillside Skate Park for these kids because they approached her. So the groups just decided, and so that is how these youth have helped us with our rec centers, different aspects of the rec centers. So I wanted to bring it forth to you all and ask you what your thoughts are, if this is something that we...
I mean, why doesn't he just attend? I mean, our meetings are open for everybody, and we would all be happy to hear anybody from the public if they ever came to our meeting.
And you want to do it officially, right? Like become an official member?
This is what they approached me with, and so they wanted to be part of the Parks Board, and I was trying to figure out how this could happen, because the board is made up of, and, then discovering as an ex officio member,
right.
They would be able to bring information back and forth. They belong to the board, they're non-voting, and so it's just a matter of
How are they chosen? I know it's several high school students, and then how are they chosen?
They're chosen by a selection process. They're interviewed, and based on, and there's requirements. They have to give so many hours they have to have a certain GPA to maintain their school level, and they have to commit a certain number of hours throughout the year. If they don't make, and I didn't bring the criteria, if they don't make a certain number of special events where they're doing something, fundraising for an organization or what have you, then they are asked to.
And then amongst themselves, they decide who will be president. Right?
Yes.
Among themselves.
Yes.
So I think ultimately, obviously it can be a voting member, but it could be somebody that we can hear input and recommendations from. I know that if it comes from students from across the city, ultimately some kind of recommendation that they'd be able to input or anything. Obviously, as a voting member, I don't think that would be...
No, that's not...
Yeah, that would be like...
And that wouldn't be the desire.
But
it's
but
just
something as a recommendation, and we'd love to have them.
I mean, I don't see it as a problem. I mean, that would be great for the community, and the kids to actually have per se a voice or an input. But how is that going to filter to the council members?
it won't, it'll go through you all still, because their voice is here to speak with you all. And, or it would be the president's based on the entire youth committee. And it would just solidify, in my speaking with them, it would solidify their position, if you will. Because I know when I visit with them, they feel, Marina tells me, okay, now it's official, they've just asked Ms. Stanley for X, Y, and Z. And that's what they're trying to achieve,
Right.
They just wanted to be a part of.
I think maybe also we'd be able to include a portion of our agenda where they can give us presentations on something that they are suggesting, or something that they, that way, instead of them having to sit in all the time and listen to our meetings, or because I know that a lot of the times they, some of these kids won't be able to attend because either they have stuff going on right after school.
Mhm.
But if we can dedicate, and if other members would agree or something, but some portion of our agenda where we're listening to them, and at the same time, their voice is being heard, and either we're taking action, or we're taking, whatever. Even seeing it as a staff report from them, but we can see it as a committee report from them, and we'd be able to start like that.
I hear the request for something more solid than just attending the meeting. I think I'd prefer to call them, the president is the official liaison to the Parks Board instead of an ex officio board member. Because when I think of a board member, even if they're a non-voting board member, a board member to me is somebody who does need to be here all the time, and who does make that commitment to be available whenever, you know. So for me, a liaison, though, is somebody who would come when they're needed, or would come when they do have a report to give.
So you would want them as an official board member?
No.
As a liaison.
As a
No,
liaison.
I was saying,
liaison.
so my issue is really only with what it's called. It's
Okay.
not with
Their
the
duties.
person coming.
Right.
It's just the title.
I wonder if I can comment, I wonder if that's what they're looking for though, to feel like they're the, you know, the generation coming up
Yeah.
to eventually be.
Because
You know, on
ultimately,
the board,
if it's just the president that'll be showing up, then it'll make it, you know, for the next year, you know, maybe, you know, they decide to join, you know, soccer, band, or something that requires them to be in practice. So the pressure's gonna be on the president, rather than them sending a particular liaison, hey, this month you can go, or
Right.
this month you can go. Because if we have the same representative, you know, always going, if that's something that you wanna bring up to the committee, or that's something that they wanna look at, rather than sending somebody that they choose, and do they meet monthly, or is it
They meet weekly.
weekly also?
And then, of course, when they have their events. But I can definitely bring it to them and your comments and express, and this is one of the things that I had spoken with Ms. Garcia about when she said, well, he can't make it to tonight's meeting. And I said, this is exactly one of the things that we had already discussed, you know, it's not going to be. She said, can I send somebody in his place? And I said, that's not the role we're doing. She says, no, but he's finished right now. So I'd like to take back your comments because I think they're pretty much in line with, I wanted to bring forth what the youth committee wanted to do. But I think starting out with perhaps a liaison and having them come maybe every quarter, every other meeting with, you know, if you have a concern or if they see something and that they would like to bring it to your attention. You know, I think we can start with the liaison and see, and go from there and see if it can, if this is what.
And I guess I would also just stress to them that they're welcome to attend any meeting. I mean, you don't have to have something on the agenda to come and listen to what's going on.
I mean, I think it's good, but I just, again, I don't know how each council member would react to that. Why is that person from Alexander? Or why is that person from
Right.
you know, you know how it is. It can get kind of.
And that's why I recommend that because if it's just the president and the president's chosen from United South or Alexander High School, and they're saying, oh, you know, for a whole year that person's gonna have that representative only from that area, rather than if you send a liaison and they all, you know, they meet weekly, so rather than they choose among themselves, you know, they meet more than us, so they can send a representative to our meetings that are monthly, and they'd be able to bring up some of the issues that they might be seeing or anything that we can, and then that'll give the equal chance to everybody to be involved.
That's good. Okay.
I will take it back to the youth committee.
Okay.
We'll start with that.
Partners in Community Forestry Conference presentation.
Just a quick recap of a conference we just returned from. How is this, Maria?
Here in the middle.
Slide faster. Oh, fit to window. Oh, right here? Okay. So as you all may be aware, I kind of work with a new division. I work with a new division, relatively new, already over a year old, in the Parks Department, Urban Horticulture and Forestry. And so the department's been very supportive in some of our goals. One of the primary ones in this case has to do with forestry and greening of the city. I want to thank Ms. Briones for coming along with us and being a part of it. That was very meaningful in terms of getting a feeling for what it is we're kind of really doing. We did also go to another conference. Victor Navarro, who's been the city forester now for a few years, we managed to go to another conference in Waco that was the International Society of Arborists. And that was also very inspiring, and it was meaningful to see in him, for him as a forester for several years in the city, to kind of feel the importance of what that is. I think there's been, and going to these conferences, you learn that it's happening in many cities everywhere, maybe a sense of the need to develop more of ethics towards trees and how we see them and how we value them. And so this particular conference, the Partners in Community Forestry Conference, is exactly about that, community and forestry, how communities are being engaged to work together and be inspired by a vision of having their communities green, the value of trees for urban infrastructure, for parks, for cooling the city, and different sustainability measures. And so that's what we attended. We learned various things. The slides are really just kind of to give you a gist of what it was. It's not meant to really go into any in-depth, just
Berman,
yes.
as a forester, what does that mean? Is that someone who trims trees? Is that someone who picks out trees? What is that job description?
It's everything. It's everything having to do with our arbor, our trees, our canopy in the city. It has to do with the management of those things, the tree planting events we're having. So this year, it's going to be approximately, so far, about 200 trees planted. Last year, we managed to do about 100 trees and a little more than that. And so it's not only, so it goes from selecting the trees from the right variety to being of a decent quality. Many times you get discounted trees from a vendor, and if you don't know what you're looking for, they'll easily sell you something that isn't in the condition to perform anymore, and that's very common. That's why you get like a wonderful deal on something and you just don't know that it's not really going to work. How to plant them. Different parks have different soils, so planting something and then managing it and observing it and seeing, like for example, we found that at Bartlett we probably won't be planting red oaks anymore. We planted a variety of trees to begin to see, what's going to respond and what's going to do better there. So there's that. There's pruning, making decisions for pruning certain trees, how to prune them. An example of something kind of that was done, not in line with what a forester would maybe have suggested is along McPherson and kind of by the library on McPherson and Calton. There's a shopping center that they put up a big like LED advertisement panel, and for visibility of that panel they chopped about 9 or a dozen trees that were maybe 15 years old, and really beautiful oak trees that were just like butchered, so a forester would be able to give some guidance on that, some feedback. And the environmental department has been working on a tree ordinance that also protects trees, and that can get a little controversial because then people are like, well, you're not going to tell me, how I should manage, a tree that's on my property. But we try to view trees that might be historic and stuff like that. So pests, how to deal with different pests. Forestry also involves having a mixed palette of trees, so that if you have a particular, like emerald ash borer is something that's kind of sweeping the country right now, and so a lot of ash trees are being affected by that. So if you tend to focus on ash trees because they do the best and are most resilient, if that pest happens to invade, I mean, there go all of your ash trees. And so, knowing how to kind of manage a full system of that. And so, one of the things that came up over and over again had to do with leadership. Leadership involves presenting others with a vision of what they might achieve. That was a big kind of comment, how individuals and small groups can make a big impact on a community to spread the message and to kind of begin to gain momentum in a movement towards more greening. And I think we're seeing that now. I mean, just from the last year having these tree planting events and then communicating with council and suggesting the right time to plant. We don't want to be planting in late spring or even early spring because we get hot so quickly. So you want to give trees about 3 months to adapt, and so winter, fall and winter are great times of year to plant. Roots become very active even though the tops kind of become dormant. And so trying to think of ways that we can, I guess, spin it, present it to the community, involve them. That has a lot to do, we've talked about that this whole evening, I think, of how the communities begin to get involved and are valuable players in protecting our parks and the improvements that we make. And so thinking of leadership in those terms, different elements of themes of sustainability, environmental justice, remediation, leadership again, sustainability, I mean, that's a big one that comes into play with shading, with even helping buildings remain cooler and using less electricity. The urban heat island effect, that's when your city is, when the urban environment becomes several degrees hotter than what would be a rural nearby environment because of the asphalt and concrete absorbing heat and reflecting it back. I mean, obviously we have that as an issue here in Laredo. We're looking, we're having broad conversations about walkability, bikeability. Shade came up over and over again at one of the more recent council meetings. And so I know we're getting a master plan document pretty soon, not only for the whole city, but for the Parks Department. And I'm sure that, shade and all of that's going to be a big part of the next steps. One of the things, and some of the stuff in terms of inventory, these are things that my division's already looking to work on a little more. There's a lot of technology out there. There's something called iTree and the Forestry Department and Forestry Service that work with you to begin to document and take an inventory of your city. I know that off the bat, the trees we're planting through my division, we're cataloging them, we're mapping them on a parks map. We'll be doing annual, measuring of growth, of the trunks and all that to just, have an overall idea of what we're doing. At the end of the day, they're valuable parts to the park that cost money, not only in terms of the tree, but of maintenance and upkeep. So, treating them as such and giving them that importance is something that we're looking to do. So to backtrack a little bit, there was one very interesting aspect of this conference, was a tour that we took. So we were in Irvine, California, and beautiful weather, and we saw that there was this tour of Irvine Ranch, and so we thought we were going to jump on a bus and go to a location, and we were just cruising around this whole city. And it became apparent, the city is within this ranch. And as we learned later, that whole city and area is a corporation. So it's not run in the same way that, most municipalities are run. And what was even more interesting was that the city is about 50 years old, totally developed, really beautiful, and it was completely master planned from the start. So imagine driving around our city here and every street was lined with trees in an orderly manner. Like I was explaining this to my girlfriend Stephanie, she's like, it sounds like the Stepford Wives, whatever, because there was this element of perfection that could be a little creepy, but it was incredible to see it on such a large scale. Trees everywhere, particular varieties. Someone made the comment, hey, you all are using 5 or 6 species overall. Aren't you afraid of something coming in that can affect them. And yes, that was something that they are, monitoring very closely to make sure they're not going to get some kind of pest to come in and decimate, a whole species of trees. So this picture, what this shows is part of this city, I guess, that was slated to be developed into some big park or kind of like center. And seeing the measures that they took to save all the valuable trees. All of those trees were part of that development. And instead of bulldozing them and clearing land, which is one of the biggest contributors to tree loss and tree canopy in a city, all cities do that. We do it too. We're going to develop something that's just, kind of clean slate and not really worry about how we can use. Sure, we have these different types of species. We may not have these super tall trees in our native environment, but many times there's still stuff that's valuable that could be designed around or incorporated into a design. And so it was interesting to see just the measures that they take to preserve their environment. That's us, just kind of hanging out.
When was that conference?
When was this? This was last week.
Oh,
So this time last week you were there?
Hopefully, it didn't get affected by the fires or anything like that?
No, the fires started the second day of the conference north. They were more north. Actually, my brother lived in Paradise, the little city that completely got eaten up. He didn't live there. He lived there in the past. But yeah, 90% of that city was lost. Yeah. And I think there was some fires in LA that are under control now. We were a little south of Los Angeles. And meeting somebody that was from Los Angeles there for the conference, he also mentioned, I came from Los Angeles, but nothing in common. Like, this city is a completely different, and it has everything to do with how it's structured and how it was master planned. Another final little picture there, there's Victor Navarro, our forester, myself, Gracie, and then some friends that we met, really nice people. The woman standing up on the left side of the F was from Puerto Rico, and she was with the USDA, and so also had a lot of interesting perspective on what they went through in the hurricane and all that devastated it. It was interesting to learn, not only from her, but previously there are a lot of organizations that are structured around reforesting cities that have been devastated by natural disasters. But yeah, just wanted to kind of give you all the feeling for that and what we're doing in the Parks Department to focus on our plants and our trees and canopy.
I have a question. Are there any programs that the city has, or is there an interest in doing programs to train tree cutters in the city? For example, I live in Del Mar. Del Mar C, and we just hired a guy to trim all of our trees. And I think they look butchered, but my husband assures me that no, that's actually how you're supposed to do it. But we had a different guy trim our tree at our old house, and that really does look terrible. And they all seem to trim trees really poorly. And I don't know if it's just a lack of training, and different trees need different trimming. But is there any sort of public awareness campaign or like a one-day workshop where you trim a fruit tree differently than you trim a pine tree?
And you're right, you do trim different trees differently, and we do lack that in our city, knowledge on how to do that. So you get a lot of gardeners and stuff that just do so intuitively, and they don't know what they're doing. I can tell you that Victor and I were going to, in October, get our arborist certification. That was going to require some travel. It was like 4 Fridays in October, so we were going to have to travel every Thursday and do all that stuff. So instead, what we're arranging, and it should be February or March, is having that same training, but brought over here to us. And they required having about 12 to 15 people participate. So we're going to get various members from parks, from public works, from the different sectors of the city, and we're also going to invite landscapers, kind of put a general invitation out there for anyone who wants to come and participate in that. There's a fee.
Will it be in Spanish or English?
It's probably going to be in Spanish. It's probably going to be in Spanish. And the forester that's with the A&M Forest Service for our region, His name is Bill Green, but he lived in Central America for the past 20 years. He's very fluent in Spanish, and they do offer it in Spanish, and I think we'll aim to have that done in Spanish.
When you have the dates, can you send that to us?
Sure.
Because I already, have some people that I would like to send. So, I'm very, various spots.
We can the courses directed at, the idea being that, you go and get certified afterwards, but it's not required. You can
Okay.
just go sit in, learn how to do basic cuts. I mean, there's a lot of little techniques and tricks that really is what it's all about.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we'll be covering that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very, very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have turkey, but we had Chick-fil-A, so, for
Chick-fil-A.
Thanksgiving, for Thanksgiving.
To make it up all.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. You too.
Yes, sir.
All right.